Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 2, Episode 6, Eyes Without Pity. This episode is directed by Maha Vrilo. Hopefully I said that correctly. Probably not. Written by Rami Park. And before we get into it, before I go into the cast, I want to read some comments from our last video and have some corrections and some insight too. So first of all, shout out to Crystal Olsen 9517 for reminding me once again that Barney Harris is no longer playing Matt. He's been recast and is now being played by Donald Finn. I have finally updated that in my notes. Hopefully that won't happen again. Really fun stuff there. Really. So another thing that this commentator posted, if you think about the season so far and that Lanfear messes with people's dreams, how much of Rand's scenes were actually dreams she was messing with? That's just a thought, to ponder, and very, very interesting stuff for sure. Uh, the once I read that comment, I was like, oh my god, this whole season can be put into a whole different context. All right, another comment from at Rodolfo One, explaining because I asked in the last video a little bit about the Marth domain. Those are unleashed wielders of the one power. All Aes Sedais are Marth domain, but the main are the leash ones. They are controlled by the Soldam, which we definitely see a lot of that in this video. And then one last comment that I want to talk about real quick, because this one provides a little bit more context to what I just said. From at the me not available, women who can channel are divided into two groups. The first group will be able to do so instinctively around the age of 15, even if she's never taught, but without proper teaching, her strength and abilities will never fully be developed. The second group will never channel until she is taught how to channel. The first group is much smaller, and the second group, but once properly taught, both are essentially equal. Though most of the stronger channelers tend to be in the first group. Women who learn how to channel can sense only the first group and or other women who have learned how to channel. All session girls have to be screened when they are old enough that the main pick out the first group, who are then leashed and trained into more domain. The Soldam are selected from the remaining girls, who put on the bracelet one by one. Those who can feel the domain through the bracelet are then selected to train with the Soldam. The Soldam are the main are linked through the collar and the bracelet. The Soldam learns to indirectly sense and control the channeling through controlling the domain, but does not develop her own channeling abilities. That is a lot of really good context for what we are about to talk about this episode. So I'll put a spoiler warning earlier in the because I read that comment, so I don't want to spoil anything beforehand. But wow, what an episode! This is not my favorite episode. I think last week's was my favorite episode so far, but this one definitely has probably the strongest performances we've seen in some of these actors. Specifically, I think the MVP of this episode, Madeline Madden as Ewain, who is now being held captive. And that's who we kick off the episode with. So let's get into it because, man, Madeline put in the work today. But there were other great performances all throughout. We'll talk about that as we go through the episode. So as I mentioned, Ewain is captive. We meet Rena, who is her, I guess, designated Soldam. And man, there is so much pain in this first scene. We start going over the rules of like what they can and can't do because of the bracelet and the collar that Ewain is now being held captive with. That thing that is stopping her from not so much channeling, but she's not able to channel in order to escape, right? So yeah, she can't really do anything, and she's just pretty much being broken all throughout this episode. The credits roll, and then we return to Rand and Lanfear. We left them off in Dream World last at the end of the last episode, and she brings up a lot of really interesting points. Like, is Moraine manipulating Rand? Does They have a very interesting conversation about Lanfear and how she maybe does want what's best for Rand. So at this point, it's really hard to tell, right? Like, is Lanfear somebody who truly appreciates? And it kind of goes back to the question that I read in the comments, like how much of the relationship is even real, because of this power of the dream world and manipulating that. So as we awake, as Rand awakes, he leaves Moraine. He does definitely the influence of Lanfear, at least those the doubt that she's planted in his head, definitely comes up at this point. Then we catch up with Matt and Min, who are now in Carhin, which everyone's kind of there now. So I'm glad that at least everybody's kind of getting together. At least some of the group. Nothing much happens there. It's just really a lot of setup. I did see another comment mentioned. I mentioned that we don't see a lot of Matt in the. We haven't seen a lot of Matt in this season, and somebody mentioned that he's not really a big character in some of the books that they're adapting. So I think they're just kind of sprinkle him in to kind of not only shows the new actor who I'm pretty sure I forgot to go over the credits. So let's go over that now. We have Rosamund Pike as Moraine, Daniel Henney as Len, Zoe Robbins as Nynaeve, Madeline Madden, as I already mentioned, as Ewain, Joshua Stradowski as Rand, Marcus Rutherford as Perrin, Kate Fleetwood as Leandrin, Barney Harris as no, no. Donald Finn as Matt. I put the note in the wrong place. Donald Finn, not Barney Harris. Barney Harris is no longer in the show as Matt, and it's now Donald Finn, and also Natasha O'Keefe as Lanfear, who I'm adding to the credits because she is now a really big part of the show. All right, we also catch up with Nynaeve and Elaine, who are still hiding out with Basan and Rima. Right, they arrive. They try to fill them in a little bit on what's going on. As I mentioned in one of the comments, uh, some of these women can feel other women channeling, so they have to be careful about using their powers, or they will be found out. And then we also have a chat between Leandrin and Lanfear. They catch up, and we're like Leandrin is visiting her son, and that's where Lanfear shows up. And man, I thought she was gonna kill the dude. Although I mean, he doesn't. He looks like he's not, you know, long for this world. But yeah, that was crazy, crazy stuff. We finally get to see a little bit more of Loyal as he performs, like his building, like his art. As he sings his song, he's making this tree grow, and he shows off a little bit of his skills for his captors, who is Lady Soreth and her court. And after that, she kind of puts an end to the presentation, and he goes out and talks to Ingtar. So they're trying to figure out how they can help or how they can even escape. So yeah, this episode is kind of all over the place, but I really like that we were hitting all the spots and kind of going around and make sure that we touch on everyone. Um, we go back to you, Wayne, and man, every scene in that little dungeon room that she's in, I believe they call them the kennels, which that's a whole other thing. It's rough. It is rough to watch. Like she learns that she can't hurt Rena. Like the rules are spoken to her. Like any pain that she deals out, like she'll feel it twice as much. And then she also can't touch anything that she believes is a weapon. It is rough to be Ewain at the moment. Next, we once again check in with Ishamel as he visits Min to remind her that she needs to make sure that Matt and Rand connect, right? And then from there, he'll deliver whatever he promised to Min. So that she's now at this decision point, which we definitely it pays off later in the episode as well. I think she does a really great performance because man, the actor that plays Ishmael is so he's just so intense sometimes. Boy, I need to add him to the list of credits. We also have Lan and Alana and the gang as they stop on their way to the White Tower, and they kind of trick Lan into revealing his real intentions, that he wants to find the Omlin. I hope I'm saying that correctly, because he has his own motives, he has his own agenda. That obviously all this is eventually to get Moraine, like to help her out. I think that's what's trying to happen. I feel like Lan even though their connection has been severed, or they're not connected at the moment. Like, he still cares for Moraine. So we'll see. Next, we go back to the dream world where Ran is dreaming about killing his friends. But we see that this is all just because Ishmael is there in the dream world as well. And this is kind of what's seeding some doubt for me, because Lanfear intervened, right? Um, she kind of stopped Ishmael from pretty much torturing Rand. Like, he was really just dressing him down and telling him like that everything that was going to happen, that it was all his design. And it was pretty rough for Rand. Like, Rand is emotionally probably the one that's taken a big brunt as well in this episode. But then Lanfear, to give him a little bit of trust, or at least to show that she's on his side, that, like I said, is still very, very nebulous there. She takes Rand to see Wayne. And now we have another individual that knows that she's in trouble. And I think that's what's going to cause him to maybe go and try to help her. Nynaeve and Elaine also refuse to leave to safety and to get a message out to the White Tower until they can help Ewain. And then we also have a very intense scene between Anvir and Moraine, who, they're sisters, and they have a relationship that, man, it is so damaged. Like, after being an Aes Sedai and having getting to live forever or for a long time, really damaged that relationship. But yeah, so as Moraine is trying to write a letter to Suyan, then Lan ends up fighting Suyan after that. So I think everyone's kind of getting on board with the same plan. It looks like. I hope that's the case, because, man, they've been all over the place. I feel like people aren't sharing information. If they would just communicate a little bit better. I guess that's one of the things about this world. They don't have a way to quickly communicate to each other, right? Like, even if with all their magic stuff, I know there's the way, but I don't think they're only Leandrin uses that, because we know she's up to no good anyways. So uh, we do see catch up with Logain again. One really interesting touch. He has a Go board. Go is a game like that's kind of like chess, but with little round pieces. It's a very non-consequential thing. I just thought it was fun that Go was part of this world. And then Rand finally comes back to him for advice. He wants to be trained. He wants to learn to control his powers as the Dragon Reborn. And Logain gives him a hard time about it, but he ends up doing it. And boy, once Rand learns to control his power, if he ever does, it is gonna be insane. Um, and then Rand finally runs into Matt, which was probably one of the most wholesome moments. Like, it looked so sincere. Like, these guys were just very happy to see each other, because at this point, neither one of them knows that it's probably a bad idea that they hang out together. So, and I think these are probably, I would imagine, not knowing that Matt is not a real big part of these books. I would imagine that um, this was added. Maybe like it's something that doesn't really happen in the book, but it's kind of like this thing that they added, which could just help emotionally in that journey, right? That Rand continues to feel like he's alone, and that that kind of comes back later as well. Um, we're almost through to the last beats of the episode, so let's wrap it up here. Rima explains the mission and why they're in Falm to Nynaeve and Elaine, and they try to figure out how to undo that little necklace, the necklace thing, the leash that they're putting on all these women. Uh, Finally, Min reveals to Matt that she had a vision of Matt killing Rand, and man, their relationship is done. But this does cause Matt to abandon his plans to go with Rand. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. I really don't. Like, it's like I said, I even though Matt had, it's probably destined to hurt his friends. Like, I don't want him to be alone. It's weird. So I wanted him to go with Rand to rescue Wayne. So uh, we have another more intense scene as well, where Rena just she physically beats Yuane after she can't pour the water. Like pouring the water is the big test because in Yuane's head, she keeps using the little water pitcher thing to as a weapon, and so like if she can't do it, that means that her intent to escape, her will to fight, is still there. We do see a really cool magic demonstration of how their power is supposed to work together, but even this doesn't fully realize the lesson that Rena was trying to impart here. Uh, Real quick, we have a few last things to touch on. Moraine apologizes to Barthane, uh, who is her nephew, because he brought her a sandwich earlier, and she just kind of blew him off, and that's where there was a fight between them. So, man, Moraine is so focused on her mission that I feel like she's also letting some of maybe the I don't know, maybe the familial bonds are not as important. Or maybe that's kind of the lesson that we're learning here, that the Aes Sedai have to sever those bonds in order to focus on their mission. But either way, the Emerlin arrives to talk to Moraine with a lot of people, including Aleandrin. So we'll see what happens there, because we know that Aleandrin's up to no good. But so yeah, as Rand readies to leave by himself because Matt stood him up, he's ambushed by Lan and company. So I feel like that's gonna pay off next episode. Rima and Basan, they fight it out because they are discovered. But man, Rima's so strong. Like, she has a really cool fight scene. We've had two really cool fight scenes back to back episodes, so that was really fun. But then, unfortunately for this episode, it ends with Elaine. She is finally broken. She's able to pour the water cup, which means that her will to fight is gone. At least in that moment, which is really sad. But yeah, very emotional episode. I think so far my favorite performances from this episode are definitely Madeline Madden as Elaine, who has gone through hell. I think she's the one. Like, that storyline is where the title of the book comes from, Eyes Without Pity. I think that's Rena looking at Elaine, and also Natasha O'Keefe. Like, anytime she's on the screen as Lanfear, God, I am just so invested. She's doing an excellent job as that character. So, what a great episode! Really fun as once again. So, I feel like this review was kind of all over the place, but I just wanted to make sure to touch on every point. But yeah, if you have gotten this far, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe. Make sure to comment on the video. Like I said, I like reading the comments. I like getting a little bit more subtext, a little bit more context from the stuff that's going on. Not so much spoilers for the book if you read the books, but just like, things that are happening, things that already happened, and maybe you have a little bit of insight as to kind of how the world works there. So any fun comments, I'll read them in the videos. We're almost done. I think there's only eight episodes for the season, if I'm not mistaken. So we are almost there. The preview for the next episode looks pretty intense. So make sure to go check it out. So as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.